Hello, everybody. My name is Leaw, and today I will be presenting my language and identity assessment of the individual named Kim Namjoon. Kim Namjoon is famously known as the leader of K-pop boy group BTS, who often, if not all the time, writes the group's songs. He was born on September 12, 1994, in a place called Dongjaku in South Korea, but later on grew up primarily in another region called Ilsan-gu, which is also in South Korea. He auditioned for Big Deal Records in 2009 and joined Big Hit Entertainment at the age of 16. And while being a trainee, he studied at the Global Cyber University. His most discernible achievement early on in his career was when he worked as a songwriter for another Korean girl group called Glam, where he wrote a pro-LGBTQ song, which at the time, around 2010 to 2011, was something that was considered highly inappropriate and unacceptable. He learned English and Japanese by watching sitcoms, which makes him trilingual. Namjoon and his fellow trainees debuted as BTS on June 13, 2013. In this presentation, I will be analyzing how identity and culture are expressed in the language of lyrics, and I will do so by analyzing his social identity and cultural identity by an analysis of a song called A Good and So. So for the first song, A Good, here are the lyrics that I've selected, which includes number 1, as one lives, one may receive a B. It may rain days and days endlessly. Number 2, even in the desert, rain can fall. 3, I feel so lonely when I'm with me. And 4, to be out of place, it hurts so much. This is the English translation for the original Korean lyrics. So first off, example 1 suggests that Namjoon is a young individual, more specifically within the age range of a student. So we can assume that he is a student because when he mentions one may receive a B, he refers to receiving a grade. He then follows up by expressing that receiving a B is something incredibly depressing and negative, as he expresses in the next line, it may rain day and day endlessly, insinuating that raining is receiving a B. So this shows his cultural identity in the sense that in Korean culture, your statistical performance is highly important and something that emotionally affects a lot of Korean students, which includes Namjoon. This links to an article written by Yonhap News Agency where a poll revealed that 1 in 3 young students in Korea felt suicidal due to academic stress. Similarly, this is expressed in example 4, which suggests that he may be an outcast or an exception to Korean culture and Korean society. He suggests that through these lyrics, having individuality has a negative effect on you within Korean culture. Therefore, his cultural identity would be one of an outcast to it in reference to Korean culture. Whereas for his social identity, example 2 suggests that he is a realist and an optimist at the same time. Example 2 shows optimism the most by using the metaphor even in the desert rain can fall, which compares the desert to the negative points or parts in life and the rain as hope. The realist identity can be suggested through example 3, where he says that I feel so lonely when I'm with me, which suggests that he accepts the flaws in his life and doesn't see loneliness as something too negative, but he still accepts it. For the next song, Soul, here are the highlight lyrics that I have selected. First off, his social identity is revealed or suggested through example 3. It's a nice place to live if you have money, even that sigh of some taxi driver. Again, this is an English translation of the original Korean lyrics. Example 3 suggests that Namjoon is someone of higher power or is in the higher class because in Korean culture, older people are commonly taxi drivers. Now, in contrary to Western culture, older people receive much higher respect and aren't really equal with the youth. They are above the youth. However, because of the casual conversation he has with the driver as mentioned in the example, it suggests that Namjoon most likely receives more respect than the older taxi driver. Lastly, his cultural identity is revealed as someone who is an outcast, like we said before in the previous song. From example 1, 2, and 4, he critiques and expresses his opinions and thoughts about Korean culture. So this is because in Korean culture or Korean society, it's a taboo or a quote unquote socially unacceptable thing to do when you are critiquing or going against the culture, especially if you're talking in regards of mental health or critiquing in regards of mental health. So what Namjoon says is that when he mentions Han, in the second example, in the Han rivers that bear too much Han, in Korean, Han can mean sorrow, which Namjoon decides to use this particular meaning in the lyrics, but Han can also have different meanings as well. So the Han River in this case has the meaning of being the most popular and beautiful river in Seoul, but Namjoon sees it as something that's not. Lastly, to restate, Namjoon is a humble celebrity who recognizes and critiques the flaws of a positively viewed Korean society and culture. He is a young individual, most likely a student, and an outcast to Korean society. His lyrics suggest that he could identify as someone who is somewhat a Buddhist who writes about the positives and negatives in life. Thank you.